The morning sun crept over the metal horizon of New Horizon Colony, casting long shadows across the gleaming research complex. Captain Una Park stepped out of her living quarters, three unusual companions trailing behind her. To an untrained eye, they might have looked like dogs, but these were no ordinary pets. Bark, the largest of the three, moved with a deliberate grace that spoke of intelligence far beyond any earth-born animal. His fur shimmered with a subtle metallic hint, shifting color slightly as he moved. Whisper, the smallest, had eyes that seemed to look through things rather than at them. Shadow, the third companion, walked with a measured precision that suggested something more than simple animal instinct. Una had found them 3 years ago during a deep space exploration mission. Her team had discovered a dying planet, a world of ruins and forgotten technology. Most of the research team wanted to collect samples and leave, but Una had noticed something different about these three creatures. They had approached her ship voluntarily, intelligence burning in their eyes. No one could explain how they understood basic commands or how they seemed to communicate without sound. The xenobiologists were baffled, the military researchers were suspicious, but Una knew they were special. That morning's walk was like any other. The colony's corridors were quiet, most inhabitants still asleep or preparing for their daily shifts. Massive windows showed the terraformed landscape outside, a careful reconstruction of an Earth-like environment, complete with artificial mountains and carefully managed ecosystems. Bark suddenly stopped. His head tilted, ears moving in a way that was both familiar and completely alien. Whisper pressed close to Una's leg, a movement that felt more like a warning than a comfort. Shadow's eyes scanned the corridor, reflecting light in a way no normal animal's eyes should. "Something wrong?" Una whispered. The response wasn't verbal. It wasn't even a clear thought. Just a feeling, a sense of something approaching. Something that didn't belong. Years of space exploration had taught Una to trust unusual feelings. She'd survived situations that had killed less observant explorers. These creatures, her companions, had saved her life more times than she could count. They weren't pets. They weren't even really animals. But they were hers, and she was theirs. The corridor stretched before them, a long metallic pathway lined with research labs and living quarters. Soft emergency lights glowed along the baseboards, creating a gentle illumination that made shadows dance. Bark moved first. A single step forward, then another. His movements were calculated, each paw placement precise. Whisper remained close to Una, while Shadow began to drift slightly to the left, creating a protective formation that seemed entirely natural to them, but would look strange to anyone else. Una's hand rested on her communication device. Something was different. The feeling was growing stronger. Not danger exactly, but something was coming. The creatures beside her weren't breathing heavily. They weren't showing any typical signs of animal tension. Instead, they seemed to be processing information in a way that was both familiar and completely alien. Outside, the artificial landscape continued its perfect simulation of a peaceful morning. Manufactured trees swayed in a controlled wind. Carefully designed grass moved in perfect patterns. Everything looked normal, but nothing was normal. Bark's ear twitched. A movement so small that most would have missed it, but Una saw, and she knew something was coming. The morning walk continued. 3 alien beings and their human companion moved through the corridor. To anyone watching, it might have looked like a simple walk with some unusual pets. But it was so much more than that. The first hint of real trouble was about to begin. The corridor suddenly felt different. Cool air moved in ways it shouldn't, carrying strange electronic whispers that most humans couldn't detect. Una felt the first tremor of something unusual through her neural implant, a tiny pulse that made her skin tingle. Bark stopped walking. His entire body became completely still, like a statue made of living metal. Whisper pressed closer to Una's leg, her fur changing color subtly, from soft gray to a strange silvery blue that seemed to absorb the corridor's light. What's happening? Yuna mumbled. No verbal response came. Instead, a wave of images flooded her mind. Broken signals. Distant machinery. Something approaching from multiple directions at once. The information was fragmented like watching a broken video transmission. Shadow moved first. 3 quick steps to the left, positioning itself between Yuna and the research sector's main entrance. His movements were calculated, almost mathematical, in their precision. The colony's standard monitoring system showed nothing unusual. No alarms, no warnings. Just another quiet morning in humanity's most advanced deep space settlement. But these weren't normal companions. And this wasn't a normal morning. Bark's eyes, deep and intelligent, scanned the corridor's entire length. Each movement was purposeful, each glance calculated. Something was disrupting the normal electronic patterns of the colony, and only these 3 seemed to notice. Yuna's communication device suddenly flickered. Strange symbols replaced her standard interface. Mathematical equations that moved and shifted, presenting complex patterns that her human brain could barely comprehend. Whisper nudged her hand, as if encouraging her to pay attention. The research sector ahead looked peaceful. Researchers moved behind glass walls working on projects that represented humanity's most advanced technological achievements. Computer screens glowed. Holographic displays flickered with complex data streams. But beneath this calm surface, something was wrong. Shadow's tail moved, not like an animal's tail, but like a sophisticated sensor scanning invisible wavelengths. Each movement created small ripples in the air, distorting light in ways that human technology couldn't easily detect. Yuna's neural implant began processing additional information, tiny data packets that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere, at once. The signals were complex, moving faster than standard communication protocols. Bark made a sound. Not a bark, not a whine. Something in between. A frequency that seemed to carry more information than simple audio could contain. Whisper responded with a similar sound, creating a complex harmonic pattern. The corridor's temperature dropped 2 degrees. Electronic equipment nearby began to pulse with strange rhythms. Computer screens flickered momentarily, displaying fragments of unknown code. "We're being watched," Yuna whispered. Bark looked at her. Not with an animal's eyes, but with something deeper. Something that understood far more than it was revealing. The research sector's main doors were just 50 meters away. But those 50 meters suddenly felt like a dangerous journey across an unknown landscape. Shadow moved forward, 1 careful step, then another, scanning, analyzing, protecting. Whisper remained close to Yuna, her body now completely shifted to that strange silvery blue color that seemed to absorb surrounding light and energy. Something was coming. Something was watching. And only these 3, Bark, Whisper, and Shadow, seemed to understand the true nature of the approaching threat. The morning walk had become something else entirely. A mission, a warning, a preparation. The moment stretched like a thin wire about to snap. Yuna realized her companions were more than just alien creatures she had rescued. They were something else entirely. Bark's body began to change. Not physically, but something happened around him. Waves of information started flowing, invisible to human eyes but perfectly clear to those who could perceive them. Complex holographic patterns emerged from his fur, dancing with mathematical precision. Whisper moved closer, touching Yuna's hand. Suddenly her mind exploded with information. Thousands of years of cosmic history rushed through her consciousness. These weren't just animals. They were guardians. Ancient beings who had traveled across multiple galaxies protecting civilizations from threats humanity couldn't even imagine. They had chosen humans. Specifically, they had chosen her colony. Shadow's eyes transformed, displaying complex technological interfaces that looked like living computer screens. Intricate data streams showed multiple potential futures, threat scenarios, and complex strategic calculations. Yuna understood now. They weren't pets. They were sophisticated living technology. Biological machines designed to protect and guide less advanced civilizations. Each of them carried the knowledge of entire star systems, compressed into their unique biological structures. BARC's holographic projections showed images of previous civilizations they had protected, massive space battles, entire planetary systems saved from destruction, countless worlds rescued from complete annihilation. Whisper's mental download revealed their true mission. They were part of an ancient network of guardian species, traveling across the universe, identifying and protecting emerging intelligent life forms. Humans were their current project. The corridor around them seemed to change. The metal walls looked different. No longer just a simple pathway, but a complex information channel filled with hidden signals and encrypted communications. Shadow began generating defensive protocols. Invisible energy shields started forming around Yuna, creating multiple layers of protection that human technology couldn't even detect. Each shield was adaptive, capable of changing based on potential threat levels. "We have been waiting," Barky communicated directly into Yuna's mind. "Your species is young, but you have potential." The information was overwhelming. Yuna realized these beings had been studying humanity for decades. They had carefully selected specific humans, those with the right combination of curiosity, courage, and adaptability. Whisper showed her glimpses of future scenarios, potential alien invasions, cosmic threats that could destroy entire planetary systems, and their role in preventing these disasters. They weren't just protectors. They were architects of survival. The research sector ahead began to shimmer. The walls seemed to become transparent, revealing complex technological networks that had always existed but were invisible to human perception. BARC's projections showed their true form, not the dog-like creatures she knew, but complex living technologies that could transform into multiple configurations. They had chosen this shape deliberately, to become close to humans, to understand them, to protect them. Shadow continued generating defensive scenarios, potential attack vectors, possible invasion routes, complex mathematical models that predicted multiple potential futures. Yuna stood in the middle of this revelation, her entire understanding of reality shifting. These weren't just alien creatures. They were something more, living guardians, cosmic protectors, and they had chosen her colony, chosen her. The morning walk had become something else entirely, a revelation, a turning point in human history. The true nature of her companions was now clear. The first warning came silently. No alarms, no flashing lights, just a sudden change in the atmosphere that made everyone's skin crawl. BARC's body transformed, not physically but technologically. Complex energy patterns emerged around him, creating invisible shields that pulsed with incredible power. Whisper moved to the colony's main communication hub, her body becoming a living computer interface that intercepted signals from deep space. Shadow stood perfectly still, scanning multiple dimensional frequencies that human technology couldn't detect. Something was approaching, something big. Yuna watched her companions work. They moved with a precision that was beyond military training. Each movement calculated, each action purposeful. They were preparing for a threat that no human radar could see. Alien signals began breaking through the colony's outer defenses. Tiny electronic whispers at first, then stronger pulses. Traditional scanning systems missed the intrusion completely, but BARC, Whisper, and Shadow were already 3 steps ahead. The research sector's computers started displaying strange symbols, mathematical equations that moved and shifted, presenting complex patterns that human minds could barely comprehend. Researchers looked confused, but Yuna understood something was happening. Shadow generated holographic battle maps, potential invasion routes, possible attack strategies. Hundreds of scenarios played out in milliseconds, each one analyzed and countered before human computers could even register a threat. Whisper's body became a living communication network. She intercepted and decoded alien transmission signals, breaking down complex communication codes that would have taken human experts years to understand. Her entire being transformed into a sophisticated defense mechanism. BARC began generating defensive protocols, Invisible energy shields expanded across the colony, creating multiple layers of protection. Each shield was adaptive, changing, and responding to potential threat levels faster than any human technology could process. Outside, space looked peaceful. But the three Guardians knew better. Something was coming, something that could destroy everything. The colony's standard defense systems remained silent. No alerts, no warnings. Only Yuna and her three companions understood the true nature of the approaching threat. Shadow's tactical projections showed multiple invasion vectors, not just from one direction, but from various points in space. A coordinated attack designed to overwhelm and destroy. The alien force was sophisticated, using technology far beyond human understanding. Bark started interfacing with the colony's hidden technological networks, backup systems, emergency protocols, defense mechanisms that humans didn't even know existed. He was preparing a response that would protect not just the colony, but potentially the entire human species. Whisper continued decoding alien signals. Each transmission revealed more about the approaching threat. A species that consumed entire planetary systems. A technological civilization that saw other life forms as nothing more than resources to be harvested. Yuna watched her companions work. They had chosen to protect humanity, not out of weakness, not out of pity, but because they saw potential in this young species. The first alien ships began to appear. Massive technological constructs that defied human understanding of physics. They moved with a grace that was both beautiful and terrifying. But Bark, Whisper, and Shadow were ready. The storm was approaching, and humanity's most unusual guardians were prepared to fight. The first alien ship exploded without warning. No massive sound, no traditional explosion, just a sudden dissolution of complex technological matter. Bark stood at the colony's primary defense point, his body now a living weapon system. Energy patterns moved around him like liquid metal, creating intricate defense networks that human technology couldn't comprehend. Each movement calculated, each response precise. Whisper transformed the colony's communication systems into a complex interference network. Alien transmission signals became confused, broken, meaningless. She was creating chaos in their communication protocols faster than they could adapt. Shadow moved between multiple dimensional frequencies, predicting and countering invasion strategies before the alien forces could even implement them. Tactical projections showed hundreds of potential scenarios, each one neutralized in milliseconds. Yuna watched in complete amazement. Her companions weren't just defending. They were dismantling an entire invasion force with technological sophistication that seemed almost magical. The alien ships kept coming. Wave after wave of massive technological constructs that would have destroyed any other human settlement. But not this one. Not with these guardians. Bark generated defensive shields that absorbed incoming energy weapons. Each alien attack was transformed into additional energy for the colony's protection. What should have been destructive became a source of power. Whisper's interference became more aggressive. She wasn't just blocking alien communications. She was sending complex countersignals that created internal conflicts within their technological systems. Alien ships began attacking each other, confused by the sophisticated technological disruption. Shadow continued generating tactical responses. Entire invasion squadrons were redirected, their navigation systems completely compromised. What seemed like a massive attack became a chaotic mess of confused technological entities. The colony's human defenders watched in shock. Their standard weapon systems hadn't even activated. These three creatures, these guardians, were handling everything. One by one, alien ships disappeared. Some dissolved. Some were redirected into deep space. Some simply ceased to exist as technological entities. The invasion force was being systematically dismantled without a single human casualty. Bark's energy patterns expanded, creating a protective dome around the entire colony. Not just a physical shield, but a complex technological barrier that would prevent future invasions. He was rewriting the very rules of space defense. Whisper continued her technological assault. She wasn't just defending, she was learning. analyzing, understanding the alien technology at a level no human could comprehend. Shadow's tactical projections showed the complete breakdown of the alien invasion force. What had seemed like an unstoppable technological threat was now nothing more than scattered electronic debris. As the last alien ship disappeared, an eerie silence fell over the colony. Humans looked at each other in disbelief. What had just happened? Bark, Whisper, and Shadow returned to Yuna's side. They looked like the same companions she had walked with that morning. But everything had changed. They weren't pets. They weren't even simply protectors. They were guardians, ancient, powerful, committed to protecting emerging civilizations, and they had chosen humanity. The morning walk had become a turning point in human history. The colony would never be the same again. Humanity had just witnessed its true protectors, and the universe would never look the same.